A stranger said just 6 words. He ignored them, and 5 minutes later, his heart stopped. There are moments in life you only need one small warning. Have you ever stood in front of a tiny reminder, just a few words from a stranger, and chosen to ignore it? Not because you're stupid, not because you didn't understand, but because deep down you didn't want to believe you were breaking. You were afraid that if you admitted it, you would no longer be the strong one. Today, as a writer and psychologist, I'm going to tell you a story, not to blame you, but to help you see yourself differently. Because sometimes life hangs by a single humble moment of listening. Let's step back to that October morning at a small cafe on the corner of Pike Place in Seattle. The air was damp and misty, the way only Seattle knows how. Tiny raindrops clung to the window panes, blurring the hurried cars outside. The cafe was called The Quiet Corner, and it lived up to its name. Just a handful of customers sat in silence, the low hum of the coffee grinder beating like the slow heartbeat of a city still trying to wake up. Daniel Thompson, 38 years old, sat alone at an old wooden table near the window. He was a senior software engineer at a major tech company downtown. His life had become an endless marathon. Project deadlines, late-night Zoom meetings, endless emails, and sleepless nights debugging code. His wife Emily and their young daughter Sophie had moved back to live with her parents in Portland 6 months earlier. It wasn't a divorce, just temporary separation. Daniel always told her, "I'm fine, honey. I just need a little more time to stabilize my career." He convinced himself he was building a future for his family, but deep inside, he knew it was only an excuse. He was running away from the fear that he no longer had the strength to keep going. That morning, Daniel wore the same wrinkled shirt from yesterday, his tie loosely knotted. In front of him sat a steaming doppio espresso, its bitter aroma filling the air. He opened his laptop, fingers moving across the keyboard, but his eyes wouldn't focus. His mind was spinning with this month's KPI numbers. If he didn't hit the target, he could lose his bonus, maybe even his position. His heart was beating a little faster than usual, but he brushed it off. "It's just fatigue. A coffee will fix it." He took a deep breath and tried to concentrate. Then, a calm, warm, yet confident voice spoke from across the table. "You don't look okay." Daniel looked up sharply. Standing a few steps away was a middle-aged man, about 55, with silver-streaked hair and a worn gray wool coat. His eyes were deep, as if they had witnessed too much in life. He held a simple black coffee, not crowding, not pushing, just quietly observing. Daniel frowned, his voice cold. "I'm fine, thanks." The man didn't move. He tilted his head slightly and looked at Daniel's hands resting on the table. "You're a little pale, and your fingers are trembling. Did you know that?" Daniel glanced down. His fingers were indeed shaking, as if his body was betraying his iron will. He quickly clenched his fists, trying to hide it. Irritation surged through him. "Who does this guy think he is? I'm a successful engineer. I control everything. Why is a stranger getting involved?" "I said I'm fine," Daniel replied, his voice rising. "I don't need advice from strangers. Please leave me alone." The atmosphere in the cafe grew heavy. A few customers glanced over. A barista paused, looking worried, but the man remained calm. There was no anger in his eyes, no judgment, just a quiet sadness, as if he had seen this scene far too many times. "I've seen these signs before," the man said softly, his voice still warm. "I'm not trying to bother you. I just think you should get it checked. Sometimes the body gives warnings before it's too late." Daniel felt blood rush to his face. He half stood up, his voice sharp. "Who do you think you are? A doctor? I'm not weak. I'm just tired from work. Don't distract me." The man stayed silent for a few seconds. He looked at Daniel the way a father looks at a child trying to hide a wound. Then he nodded gently, his voice tinged with sadness. "All right then, have a good day." He turned and walked slowly toward the door. Daniel sat back down, his heart pounding. He took a sip of coffee, the bitterness spread across his tongue. What did I do wrong? Why did I snap like that? He's just a nosy old man. But deep inside, a vague unease crept in. He shook his head, turned back to his laptop, and muttered, "Forget it, back to work." But his body refused to forget it. Just a few minutes later, everything changed. The lights in the cafe suddenly became blindingly bright. The sounds around him, soft conversations, the hum of the espresso machine, began to fade into the distance. His heart pounded violently, then slowed down unevenly. A crushing pain gripped the left side of his chest, as if a steel hand was squeezing it tight. The pain spread to his shoulder, jaw, and down his left arm. Cold sweat soaked through his shirt. He tried to breathe, but the air felt thick and heavy. "It's just dizziness, some water and I'll be fine." He reached for the edge of the table, but his fingers were numb. His vision blurred, as if a thick fog had suddenly swallowed the room. "No, not now," he whispered, but no one heard him. His body collapsed onto the floor, the espresso cup shattered, dark coffee spreading like blood across the tiles. Screams erupted throughout the cafe. "Call 911! Someone call 911!" People rushed over. A woman knelt beside him, shaking his shoulder. "Hey, can you hear me? Look at me." No response. Daniel's breathing grew shallow. His chest rose and fell unevenly. His body twitched slightly as he struggled for air. In his fading mind, flashes appeared. Emily's smile the day Sophie was born, his daughter's joyful face when he promised, "Daddy will come home early," and the face of his own father, who had died of a heart attack 10 years earlier, always telling young Daniel, "A man must be strong, never complain." "Someone was just talking to him," the barista shouted. "That man said something was wrong. Where did he go?" Everyone looked toward the door, but the stranger had already disappeared. Outside, under the light drizzle, the man stopped walking. His name was Dr. Robert Harlan, a retired cardiologist with 30 years of experience. He heard the chaos inside the cafe, the shouting, the panic. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Old memories flooded back. Young patients like Daniel who had refused checkups because "I'm too busy" or "I'm not the weak type." Some of them never made it. After the last time, he had promised himself he would never stay silent again, no matter how many times he was rejected. He turned around. His steps were firm. The cafe door swung open. "Move aside," he said, his voice low, authoritative, and completely calm. The crowd parted instantly. He knelt beside Daniel. His hands quickly checked the pulse at the neck. It was so weak it was barely detectable. Breathing shallow, skin deathly pale. "Critical condition," he said clearly to the staff. "Call 911 now. Tell them suspected acute myocardial infarction. Get the AED ready if you have one." He gently tilted Daniel's head to secure the airway. "Come on, son, don't give up. Your family is waiting for you." He began chest compressions, precise, powerful, as if he were fighting death itself. With every compression, he whispered, "Breathe in, breathe out. You're stronger than you think." The cafe fell completely silent. Only the steady sound of compressions, the rain tapping on the window, and Daniel's fragile breathing remained. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds.
Then, a faint breath.
"That's it,"
Dr. Harlan whispered, sweat rolling down his forehead. "Keep going." The sound of sirens approached from afar. Paramedics burst in. They took over quickly, hooking up monitors and oxygen. One of the emergency doctors looked at Dr. Harlan and said, "You saved his life. 5 more minutes and—" Dr. Harlan simply nodded and stepped back. He didn't need thanks. He only knew one thing. Today, he had not stayed silent. Daniel woke up 3 days later in the ICU at Harborview Medical Center. The heart monitor beeped steadily. Soft white light filtered through the window. His body felt heavy, as if he had just survived a war. Emily sat by his bedside, eyes red and swollen, holding his hand tightly. Sophie had drawn a picture titled, "Daddy is a Superhero," and placed it on the table. "What happened to me?" Daniel whispered, his voice hoarse. The nurse smiled gently. "You're very lucky. You had a severe heart attack. Someone saved you right there in the café." Daniel froze. Memories rushed back like a wave. The shattered coffee cup, the stranger's voice. "Where is that man? The one who helped me?" Emily squeezed his hand. "He's a doctor. He came back and saved you. They said he's a retired cardiologist." The door opened. Dr. Robert Harlan walked in, still wearing the same gray wool coat, a gentle smile on his face. Daniel looked at him, and tears suddenly streamed down his cheeks, not from pain, but from regret, gratitude, and overwhelming emotion. "I'm sorry," Daniel choked out. "I pushed you away. I said terrible things. I didn't want to admit I was weak." Dr. Harlan pulled up a chair and sat down. His voice was warm, like a father comforting a child. "No need to apologize, Daniel. You were scared. That's a normal human reaction. Psychologists call it denial, a defense mechanism. We build a strong shell to protect our ego, especially when society teaches men they must be tough and in control. Your father was like that too, wasn't he? I know because you talked about it while you were unconscious. You were afraid that admitting weakness would make you lose everything, your job, your family, your self-image." Daniel lowered his head as tears fell. "Yes, my father died of a heart attack. He always said, never complain. I thought I had to be different. I thought I was invincible." Dr. Harlan placed a hand on his shoulder. "But you're not invincible. No one is. I was a cardiologist for 30 years. I've saved hundreds of people, but I've also lost some who were just like you. They ignored the signs, constant fatigue, brief chest pain, trembling hands. They thought it was just stress. They were afraid of being seen as weak. I retired because I couldn't bear it anymore. That day when I saw you, I couldn't stay silent, not because you were my patient, but because you're a human being." They talked for hours. Dr. Harlan shared stories of patients he had saved and how the body sends warning signals, like a loyal friend. For the first time in his life, Daniel listened without interrupting. He learned that true strength isn't never falling down. It's having the courage to admit when you're falling and allowing others to catch you. 3 weeks later, Daniel was discharged. He had completely changed. He took a long leave from work and moved back to Portland with Emily and Sophie. He started jogging lightly every morning, got regular health checkups, and most importantly, he learned how to listen. Not just to doctors, but to the signals from his own body and the people around him. He created an online support group for office workers and shared his story. "I used to think I was a superhero. Turns out, the real superhero is someone brave enough to say, 'I need help.'" Daniel's story spread widely. He was invited to speak on podcasts and YouTube. Every time he spoke, thousands of comments poured in. "I'm also ignoring the signs. Thank you for saving me before it was too late." And Dr. Harlan? He became a close friend. The two men often sat at the same café, which now had a small sign, "Warning Corner, where lives are saved." They didn't need many words. A simple nod and a cup of coffee were enough to remind them both. Life doesn't always give second chances,
but sometimes it sends you a stranger, a small warning, a lifeline. The question for you today is, are you humble enough to listen? Are you brave enough to look at yourself and admit that sometimes you're tired, sometimes you're in pain, sometimes you need help? Because the help you once rejected might be the very thing that keeps you alive. If this story touched your heart and made you pause for a second to check your own heartbeat, please like, share, and subscribe to Deep Life Story right now. Who knows, the next story might arrive exactly when you need it most, before it's too late. Remember, you are not alone, and you deserve to be saved, not because you are weak, but because you are human. This story isn't just a story, it's a heartfelt reminder from a writer and psychologist. Don't wait until you collapse to start listening. Start today.